The next one to look at is beside the point. Beside the point is exactly what it sounds like. The person, the arguer, says something that does not pertain to the argument itself. It addresses something that is not the point of the argument. So I've often thought this fallacy should be called not the point. So here we have, of course, cutting taxes will help the economy. People hate taxes. That very well may be true. Most people I know do not like paying taxes, but whether or not people hate taxes absolutely in no way addresses the point of whether or not lowering taxes will stimulate the economy. So that's beside the point. It's just the same as saying you said something that has nothing to do with your point. That's even a good rubric maybe to use, is that if somebody says something that just does not in any way help the point they're making, it's probably beside the point. Next is hasty generalization. Hasty generalization is where you take a small sample and you generalize it to a larger group without proving that it does apply to that larger group. So here we have Greece had high taxes and their economy collapsed. We can see what happens to economies with high tax burdens. Well, this misses a lot of other examples. For example, Sweden has an extremely high tax burden, over 70%, and yet they have the highest quality of life in the world. So it's not true necessarily that just because Greece, which had high taxes, had an economic meltdown, that therefore all economies with a high tax burden have a meltdown. Finally, ad populum. Ad populum can also be called in English something like appeal to popular sentiment. This is where someone appeals to a general idea or almost like a mythological theme that resonates with their audience, as opposed to actually proving or supporting their point. So here we say, a free people do not accept the government taking 1/3 of their income. Are we free people or not? So we've completely changed the discussion from whether or not lower taxes will help stimulate the economy. And now we're talking about whether or not you feel like free people and what free people act like. Right? It's completely changed the idea of lower taxes stimulate the economy into are we a free people, right? And it's appealing to this idea of freedom, like this American notion that people are free and somehow that's inherently a good thing. So this is the idea of an ad populum. It's often called a bandwagon appeal because it's appealing to the idea of, I don't actually like saying bandwagon because usually we think of bandwagon like everybody's doing it. That's a form of ad populum, but it's not the only form of ad populum. Ad populum is any time we appeal to a popular sentiment or a popular notion of self-identity, which is very common in the US. You know, Americans this, Americans that, Americans think this, Americans will never that. Those are all ad populum types of statements, and it's just appealing to a sensibility or a mythology of a group of people rather than to the point of whether or not this will meet the three conditions of a should argument.